Hi, this tutorial is part of a series of tutorials designed to help beginners get started with AudioMulch. If you're completely new to AudioMulch, you might want to refer to the previous tutorials in this series. In a previous tutorial, I demonstrated how to control AudioMulch's contraption parameters using MIDI. But a really useful thing to do is to be able to control the Metasurface with MIDI. It's still parameter control, but in the case of the Metasurface, you're controlling both the X and Y parameters of its two-dimensional surface. An ideal MIDI controller to use for this purpose is a MIDI XY pad. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to use the Metasurface to control a bunch of parameters on my patch simultaneously via a MIDI XY pad. Luckily, the MIDI keyboard I'm using has an XY pad built in. But you could use other controllers if you don't have an XY pad, like a pair of wheels or sliders. I'll be using a patch I made in a tutorial called Using the Metasurface. If you've never used the Metasurface before, you should probably watch that tutorial now and come back to this one later. Now I'm going to enable MIDI input by clicking the Enable MIDI button on the toolbar. To set up MIDI control for the Metasurface, I'm opening the parameter control window from the View menu. This time I'm going to set the MIDI control source settings manually. I'm starting with the Metasurface's X parameter, labelled here as Interpolate X. I know that the X parameter on my XY pad outputs as a 7-bit control change, and its control number is 1. So I'm entering those settings now. Now that the Interpolate X is set up, I'll do the same for the Y parameter. The control number for my XY pad's Y parameter is 7. Now I can use the XY pad to interpolate between my snapshots, just as if I were controlling the Metasurface with the mouse. And now that the mouse is freed up, I can use MIDI to control the Metasurface while I go into edit mode and move the snapshots with the mouse. So that was a basic introduction to controlling the Metasurface with MIDI. Be sure to check the AudioMulch website for other video tutorials.